We're here tonight to discuss home security and safety in our area. We want to have an open forum where residents could come in and talk about issues that they see in their area. We're going to talk a lot about Crime Stoppers, neighborhood watch programs, and just give the community, we wanted to have an open forum where you could come and talk to us about issues that you have, and then we could bring some issues to you. Maybe you can help us solve some issues that are happening in the community.
This is something that I'm very passionate about. I have zero tolerance for drugs, zero tolerance for violent crime. Now, inasmuch as I have a background as a state trooper, one would probably think that my main focus would be just on traffic enforcement. Because basically, when you see a state trooper, he's normally in your rearview mirror with the lights flashing, pulling you over for some kind of violation. And you going, oh, I wish you'd go the other direction. But my thing is that whether it be traffic enforcement, community policing, violent crime, the whole gamut is just as important. And that's what we do. We don't focus just on one area of enforcement. We don't focus on just one part of the city. We're citywide. I have 70 police officers, and I do have different divisions that handle different tasks. We have a juvenile division, and here tonight with the juvenile division is Detective Naylor, Brandon Naylor. Brandon Naylor is a fixture in this community because when I was working as a trooper, started off in 1984, one of the persons that I got to know shortly thereafter was Brandon Naylor. Brandon Naylor's been around for a long time. He knows a lot of people, and a lot of people know Brandon Naylor. He's a good officer, and he represents this city quite well. And then, of course, we have our criminal investigation division. And we have officers that's assigned to our criminal investigation division, and here to represent that division tonight is Sergeant Kimball. Sergeant Kimball has been with the department for a while, and he's a good officer, very thorough, very energetic, and very willing to go out and do the job that he needs to do in order to represent the city. We have a narcotic division. As you know, I mentioned early on that one of the things that I have zero tolerance for is drugs. We have had probably 4 or 5 major drug roundups since I've been here. People that are selling drugs on our streets. And so we go out and we make sure that they get attention just as well as a person that's out there speeding. Because drugs, normally most of the crimes are committed, and most of the people who are incarcerated because of drugs. Either selling drugs, or they trying to steal in order to get goods to sell to buy drugs. So drugs is the evil of most communities, and this one is no different. So we have Investigator Smith, Wayne Smith. He's with the Vicksburg Police Department, and he's part of our narcotics division. And then we have Sergeant Jackie Johnson representing our traffic division. Traffic division you see out most of the time when there's an escort that's needed, whether it be a funeral escort or some other type deal, or even traffic enforcement, whether it be roadblocks, accident investigation, and things of that nature. We call upon traffic quite often. But we have, again, over 70 officers, and we have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 plus that's assigned to jobs that they don't wear a uniform as I'm wearing tonight. They're in plain clothes, and they go out and help investigate these crimes. But I thought what I'd do tonight before I came over, I pulled some stats for the last 60 days for this area, which encompass Old Point Drive, East Main, Elizabeth Circle. And what we were able to see in pulling these stats for the last 60 days is disturbance caused on All Point Drive and Elizabeth Circle. When we pulled the numbers, we noticed that in the In that time period, on All Point Drive, there was 11 disturbances on All Point Drive. And on Elizabeth Circle, there was 18. And in looking at all the stats that we pulled, which would encompass assault, auto burglary, domestic, and whether it be trespassing, vehicle fire, it must be about 30 different areas that we captured. But the one that stood out amongst all of them was the disturbance call. It wasn't domestic violence, it wasn't auto theft or auto burglary or even burglaries. It was disturbance. But we know that most people are interested in burglary because we do see burglary in a lot of areas. But in this particular area, as it relates to auto burglary, it shows that on Old Point Drive there was 3, and on Elizabeth Circle there was 1. That's one area I feel that people would be interested in. And then, as far as the burglaries are concerned, there again on Old Point Drive, we had 4 and Elizabeth Circle 5. And moving down the list to theft, we only captured 2 for that time period. So, but this list encompasses a lot of other areas. Motor vehicle crashes, medical calls, assault, but again, the disturbance of the one that really stands out. We do have crime in our community from time to time. But I would have to say that the main area that we see the most crime is property crime. That simply means that someone is taking something that don't belong to them, whether it be residential, business, or whatever. But property crime seems to be what's plaguing this community for the most. Not violent crime, thank goodness. We certainly have some violent crime, and more than we would like to have. Matter of fact, we had an instance to play out just this past weekend that it's very sad that it happened simply because it happened in what was termed as a teen center on Washington Street. And what happened was a young man was shot. Thank goodness he wasn't fatally wounded. His injuries probably was not considered serious. However, it was a very serious incident that took place because a firearm was used. Not only was the firearm used, it was used by a young person, age 16, against a 15-year-old in an area where you had some 60-plus young teenagers, where parents, other person who was responsible for them had dropped them off at that location. But again, that falls in the category of violent crime because there, again, a weapon was used, a deadly weapon. We can't control a lot of things that happen. But where we step in is to be able to respond after the fact and be able to solve these cases and make an arrest. And fortunately, we have been able to do that in most of the violent crimes that has taken place since we've been in office. So we did make an arrest within hours of an incident. The young man was taken to the hospital. He was released. Again, he's going to have a full recovery. We are having problems with our young people. Most of the crimes that are committed by young people. Young people who should be focused on education. Young people that should have the full support of their parents. But that's not happening. So we're having to go in and corral these individuals in some instances and bring them to the jailhouse, and certainly at that time they got a criminal record. We're not getting the full support from the parents and whoever's in charge of a lot of these young people. And again, young people between the ages of probably 13 and say 25 are the age group that we're having our most problems. But overall, as I stated, we do have a safe community, but I want to see it safer. And that was my reasons for asking the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to allow me to hire an additional officer. When I got here, we only had about 60 officers. And mind you, of those 60 officers, you had officers that were assigned to different areas, which means that we didn't have enough officers out on the streets. We now have 4 different watches. We have anywhere from 10 to 12 officers per watch that go out and patrols the streets of the city of Pittsburgh. But we need more cooperation between the police department and this community. We need more people that step up and say that they saw whatever it is that has taken place that's illegal. Whether it be a vehicle speeding, whether it be someone that's selling drugs, or someone firing a firearm inside our city. We have had a lot of calls that individuals have been firing firearms. Let me tell you, at the volume of calls that we have had as it relates to firearms being fired, eventually someone are likely to be struck. Because what goes up eventually will come down, and just a matter of time, someone's going to be struck. Recently, we took possession of an AK-47, very deadly assault weapon. This weapon was on our streets. Nothing we have at the police department compared to that particular weapon. But yet, someone in our neighborhood had that weapon, and it was being fired. People sometimes that want to get involved. It's very important, and I wish we had a bigger crowd here tonight, but we don't. But we're not going to give up. We're going to move to another area, and we're going to continue to push and ask this community to help us make this community safe. But the thing is that police cannot be everywhere at one time. That's where you are. And I want you all to know, as your police chief, that I don't tolerate misbehavior on the part of police either. Period. I simply don't. If, in fact, that you have information that you want to speak to me, you're more than welcome to give me a call. I get calls all the time. One of the ways we are able to make some of the drug arrests that we make is because I get credible information from the citizens. Let us know what's going on. And we follow those leads and we keep whatever is said to us confidential. Something else happened in our community recently, and we're going to show you a picture of it. Just trying to view it, come up and pull it up. We had not one but 3 armed robberies, probably within minutes of each other. 3 armed robberies. That means somebody had a pistol sticking in front of somebody's face. Fortunately, there was no one hurt. Gun wasn't fired. But anyway, that individual is still running around in our community somewhere. And I say that individual because in as much that it did happen, from all indication, it was one individual, went to 3 different locations that night. And I'm not really sure which one he started, Sergeant Kimmel could probably tell me, but he went to KFC, he went to the Waffle House, and he even robbed the individual on bicycle. And I think he got money at all 3 locations. Is that accurate? That's right. And the reason we were able to say that we believe it was only one individual, because we found something at one of the locations that was taken from an individual in another location. So at least we're not standing here telling you that we had 3 separate individuals running around at night with firearms. But the other side of it is, I would like to see him in jail. And this is a picture of him where he went inside KFC. And it's not a good picture, but it's all we got to work with because it came from their surveying equipment. He went inside of the Waffle House. And I believe he chased an individual from the parking lot inside. Sorry, is that accurate?
Yes, sir. It actually started, a gentleman was walking from Best Western Hotel to get breakfast.
Okay.
He chased him from the Best Western inside and then attempted to rob the business and rob the individuals inside the Waffle House.
Right. So again, he chased the individual inside, and once inside, he decided he wanted to rob individuals inside the Waffle House. They decided they would let him have the Waffle House, and they exit the door. Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
So, but the bottom line is that no one got hurt. Money was taken, I think, at all locations. But this is obviously a young man, and he's not very large, but he went on a binge that night. And I basically said that he was desperate for money to buy drugs. Normally, when you pull a robbery and you know the police has been called, you don't try doing a second one, not to mention a third one. So he was very desperate, and he pulled all 3 of them in a short period of time, and he's still out on our streets. And we would love to be able to apprehend that individual, because if he did it once, do it again. And because of the locations of particular one of those robberies, to me it tells me he's from our community. Because it wasn't him passing along Interstate 20 and pulls in at the Waffle House on Indiana, and this is the location, right? Or this one on the plate.
That's on Fleming Road, North Fleming.
Off of Indiana.
Yes, sir. Right next to the car dealership.
Right. So it wasn't that he was just passing along the interstate and decided to stop there and rob. He was even in the inner city. Matter of fact, the one that he did with the individual on the bicycle was off of Army Navy. Road, right. So to me, for him to go to KFC on Clay Street, Waffle House on Indiana, and then go over on Army Navy, he knows his way around this community. So it means he's still here, and there's somebody here that knows him. And we're hoping that someone will step forward with information. What we also have available, since I've been here, we are now part of Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers will pay up to $2,500 for information leading to the arrest of this individual. And you would have to call Crime Stoppers, and we have invested into Crime Stoppers. It's the number to call them, and they will direct you as to what you need to do. So what we need for you all to do is to let others know that's not here, anyone with information, to contact the police department or Crime Stoppers in reference to the monies that's available that can lead to the arrest of people. We cannot look at the fact that it didn't happen to me, and I'm not going to get involved in that, because sooner or later it may be you next. These individuals, they don't necessarily pick their targets. Now, one thing that I would mention at this point has to do with auto theft and auto burglary. A lot of times the criminals look for vehicles of opportunity. We're talking about vehicles that not only are they unlocked, but people leave the keys in the ignition with the checkbook on the seat and the stuff on it. They make it very convenient. We have a serious problem, not only in the city, but throughout the county, with people leaving their vehicles unlocked with their goods inside. Crime opportunity. Why is that? It's because they know that if they go up and knock your window out, now they have created a scene. Maybe the alarm might even go off. Even if it's not alarm, you've made such a loud noise that somebody might hear. So they go around, they strictly, in some instances, look at vehicles as not secured. People don't lock vehicles around. And as much as we've been talking and trying to encourage people to lock their vehicles. But the main thing that I'm asking from you all is to help us to make our community safer by communicating with other people. We have neighborhood watch programs. We have a representative here tonight that can help establish a neighborhood watch. Even if you don't want it in your neighborhood, or you may even already have it, if you know of any neighborhoods that could probably be better served with neighborhood watch, then they should call Angela Turner, and she can make that happen. This is a very effective program. There was a time there was a lot of burglaries on Drummond Street. Well, they already have a neighborhood watch, but they re-energized that neighborhood watch, and the crime that was happening over there on Drummond Street basically went away. We made 4 arrests. We recovered stolen vehicles. We recovered over $20,000 in goods, air conditioners, and all kinds of things. But the main thing is that we put those handcuffs on them and we took them to jail, and that put a stop to that. But it happened because of people in that community paid attention to the details of their neighborhood, jotting down tag numbers of people, suspicious vehicles that might be in your neighborhood, or the description of the person that might be in your neighborhood. Even if you don't pass it on, jotting it down until if something happened later, you can say, hey, you know, that was this vehicle in my neighborhood at this time. This is a description of the vehicle. You may and you may not have a tag on it. Well, that'll give us a starting point. Every little bit helps when it comes down to trying to solve crime. We've got one other picture we want to show you of an individual. And this picture is very clear, and I'm very surprised that this individual haven't been caught. I know that someone should have recognized this guy, and he was over around the casino and Grand Station Casino, breaking in cars, and he was captured on their video equipment. And we'll leave this one up because it is kind of probably hard to see from back there. But this is a pretty clear picture of this young man. Again, a young man, very young in age, probably less than 21 years of age. And he just basically run around and break into cars. Again, probably mainly those that's unlocked. So, we really would like to catch them, as well as the guys who pulled off those armed robberies, because they're terrorizing our neighborhood, and they don't need to be on the streets. Because sooner or later, someone is going to get hurt. Again, in terms of violent crime in 2 years, we have noticed a decrease in violent crime, which would consist of robberies, rape, homicides, and things like that. But our property crime is not where it needs to be.